right, all right. Good morning, good people. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I want to welcome you to episode 5 of the Know It All podcast. What can we learn from John Wick? For those that are viewing on YouTube or listening on YouTube, I should say, you may notice that I'm a bit more dressed up today. I decided that if I was going to be talking about John Wick and how we can use his methodology in life toward achieving our goals, I had to dress the part. So this is a 42 regular, just like John Wick. I don't want to spoil anything from 4, but I just want to say that this does not have the Kevlar abilities that were so awesome inside the movie. And I promise you, if that was a spoiler, it will be the only spoiler of this episode. So without further delay, let's get started. Now, for those who are joining for the very first time, I want to first of all welcome you to the Know It All podcast. Again, this is episode 5, so we are still in our very much growing stage. But the goal behind the Know It All podcast is focused on empowering you to be the very best version of yourself. In this podcast, we're going to explore all kinds of topics that help us to better ourselves as humans, be better stewards to our neighbors, our friends, our family, our lovers, whomever it may be. The goal for all of us is to succeed in the pursuit of our own version of prosperity. But everyone, and I do mean everyone, needs an extra nudge or shove to keep going. And I'm your host, Quick Jiggs, and my goal is to be that extra push, that extra shove to let you be great. And today we're going to be talking about John Wick and how well John Wick actually aligns with motivating you to reach your goals. The title of today's episode again is What Can We Learn from John Wick? And I promise you by the end, you'll be very much surprised. So go get your coffee or tea, sit back and relax. If you're on the road, just make sure you're paying attention, but listening as well. If you have a pad, I certainly recommend that you take some notes because I really feel like there's a lot that we can learn in today's episode. Now, first of all, yes, I did go see John Wick 4 this past weekend. Yes, it was amazing. And no, I promise there will be no more spoilers. Just know it was awesome. Just as awesome as the first 3 and 100% worth all the hype. And I loved it. Anytime you can keep my attention for an almost 3-hour movie, it's an amazing movie. But on my way home from the movies, I had a bit of an epiphany that helped me realize the potential to align our lives with John Wick. And of course, you may be saying to yourself, what do I have in common with John Wick? Well, obviously, I'm not saying that we can all be elite assassins. In fact, personally, I hope that none of my listeners are assassins, elite or otherwise. I know that I can assassinate a cheeseburger or a great ribeye, but I would be a piss poor assassin, and I hope the same for you. But what I am good at is adapting to my environment and focusing on my goals and funneling positive energy into my efforts. And I want to share with you how this mind state aligns very well with the character of John Wick. First of all, for those who are somehow not familiar with John Wick, I want to give you a bit of a background just so we're on equal footing. First of all, John Wick always wears a 42 regular black suit, white shirt, black tie like I'm wearing. But in the very first movie, he's a retired assassin from the Secret Assassins Society. He's left it to be normal and settle down with his wife. The only problem is his wife actually passes away. And during the period of time that he's actually mourning her passing, he finds out that she actually gifted him a dog who he first kind of resents, but later he easily falls in love with the dog. Unfortunately, some thugs randomly see him at a gas station one day in his, I believe, a Ford Mustang, and the guys know how nice it is, offer to buy it. This guy happens to be a connected Russian criminal, and he decides to take it upon and what he is capable of. So this dummy makes the mistake of awakening a sleeping giant, a sleeping monster, a man who all the greatest assassins in the world both respect and fear. And the remainder of each of the movies is this continuous timeline of him getting revenge on first the direct perpetrators, but then an extension of the organization that is responsible for this assassin's society. And throughout all the John Wick movies, we see that his character is motivated to do what he has to do through various circumstances. Now, back to the purpose of today's episode is, what can we learn? What can we learn and apply to our own lives from the John Wick movies? So today what I want to do is break this down into 5 topics that I think correlate really well with John Wick's character, but also work really well in helping us to find our motivation and the power that we all possess within. So, without further delay, let's get started. Topic 1, the power of personal code. Those who are already familiar with the movie, we are all aware that John Wick lives by an extremely strict personal code. He uses his code to govern his actions, and it motivates him to do what he has to do. He knows who he is and what he stands for. And I think this is a really valuable lesson that we can all apply. Sit down for a moment, think for a moment, what do you stand for? Furthermore, not just what do you stand for, but what is your strict personal code? What lane do you align with? What trajectory do you see yourself in? And most importantly, how disciplined and consistent are you in adhering to that code? Whatever your code may be, it's incredibly important that you recognize it. I think you need to make it so that it's second nature. So writing it down, repeating it, and then applying that in how you conduct yourself. And the amazing thing is, while outsiders in the John Wick movies may not know the specifics of his code, they know that he lives by a code. So then you need to ask yourself, do others know I live by this code? Do others see this resonating? Because words are words and they can be a start, but actions are where you truly build your discipline and your reputation. So ask yourself, how well aligned are you with this personal code? How consistent are you? What do you do when you hit a hiccup? Do you completely veer from this code, or do you find your footing, reset, and get back to it? Because know that there are going to be challenges. There are going to be things that are going to interfere with this code, but starting with how you develop this code is going to help you get there. It again really starts with knowing what's important to you. What's of value to you? What do you stand for? What won't you tolerate? What will you always defend? Once you know those values and you again write them down, memorize them, make them innate in your personality, your personal code will help you make decisions and act consistently. And this is how you can be your very own motivator. Again, John Wick is absolutely his own motivator. No one in the movie is saying, John, you need to do A, B, or C. John has a goal. He plans to obtain it. In the movie, his goal is to kill everybody. I don't want that to be your goal. But your goal can be to kill all your challenges. Your goal can be to become 1% better each and every day. But know that you can only get there by adhering to your own personal code. You can't adopt someone else's code. You can't adopt someone else's habits. You can learn and tweak other people's goals and other people's habits, but you have to be the holy owner of these goals. And in order to achieve that, it starts with understanding and knowing what those goals are. So your first step today is to take 5-10 minutes and jot down what your personal code is, refine it, stand in front of the mirror and say it. Say it more than once, say it into a second nature, and then this can become either in addition to what you may be already doing as an affirmation or your first and only affirmation. But this personal code must be how you conduct yourself, must be how you carry yourself, my personal recommendation is that a code should always start with being loyal and honest. If you're not a person someone can trust, then you're not going to get very far. If you're not loyal to your word, you're not going to get very far. For those familiar with Scarface, Tony Montana, he famously said, "The only thing I have in this world is my words and my nuts, and I won't break them for anyone." Whether you have nuts or not, you have your word, and you have to adhere to it at all costs. Moving on, the second topic that I would like to address is, how do you overcome adversity? Now, John Wick, the entire series of movies, is full of different adversities throughout that he must overcome. He always finds a way to overcome it. But the first thing we need to remember is when we face any adversity, it is not up to us to figure it out immediately. We also cannot allow ourselves to give up. We can get knocked down. We can get knocked back. I mean, John Wick has been hit by at least 24 cars, and he somehow manages to still get up. That's a whole nother story for another day. But what can you do? What can we do when we face adversity? I find that it is incredibly helpful if you know how to take small steps. You don't always have to go from stage 1 to stage 20. You can go from stage 1 to stage 1.1 or stage 2. But overcoming adversity is not a thing that you should expect to happen in a short window of time. As you gain momentum and as you take small steps, you may be able to adjust and take bigger steps and take bigger leaps. But every step you take is a step forward. And again, if you get knocked back, you just keep moving forward. Every time you fall, you just get back up. Remember, the key is overcoming adversity. And I don't care who you're friends with on social media, what celebrities you may look up to. Please know that you are not unique in facing adversity. And please know that everyone is going through something. I don't care if they post pictures every day that they're on this island, on that boat, or this boat, in that car, or that car, they're dating this person or that person. They're doing outstanding things. They brag about their bank account. They brag about their promotion. They brag about their significant other. They brag about their children. They brag about their family. Whatever it is, please know that everyone is going through something. Now, how you react and how you handle it, how you face the different types of challenges in life is where you truly are able to cut yourself from being held back, being considered a failure or unable to achieve things and unable to overcome. So, in addition to understanding what your personal code is, now I want you to really focus on not only understanding the fact that you're going to face adversity, but understanding that your ability to overcome adversity starts from within. It starts from how you approach it and how you continuously move forward, regardless of the setbacks and the challenges. Again, small steps are incredibly, incredibly important. Now, the third topic that I would like to talk with you and correlate again to John Wick is the importance of focus. John Wick is an incredibly, incredibly, incredibly focused character. He only sees what's in front of him and he pursues his goals with an unwavering determination. Focus is essential if you want to achieve your goals. But the challenge is understanding, how do you cultivate this level of focus? Think about that for a moment. Again, how do you cultivate this level of focus? It starts with reducing distractions. So when I find myself personally losing focus, one of the first things I do is think about what's distracting me. And for a lot of us, including myself, a lot of times it's social media. So, whether you're on TikTok or you're on Instagram, when you're on social media, you can start with 2 swipes and now, it's 300 swipes later and the time is gone. And now you're tired or you're ready to eat or you're ready to watch your show or whatever the scenario may be. But now you're off the trajectory. You're off your path because you've allowed these distractions to get in the way. And when we are easily distracted, again, whether it's social media, it could be a person, it could be a job. It could be some other commitment that is not really your focus. But if you allow yourself to be distracted, you can find it incredibly easy to lose focus. Now, that doesn't mean that you can only focus on one thing at a time, because everyone knows that adulting is adulting. And since 2020, adulting has been adulting really, really well. And so it's so many things that we're dealing with every day. For those of us who have children, the responsibilities that come with children. For those of us who have careers, the responsibilities that come with careers. And then you have the audacity to want a social life, maybe. Maybe you want to go out and eat sometimes, or go out and have a drink sometimes, or go to a party, or go to the park, or go for a hike, or go on vacation. Maybe you have a show that you're locked in on and you want to keep track of and watch every week. We have so many things that are going on in life. And my goal is not to project some sort of false narrative where you have to find your thing. And I just need you to focus on your thing. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you have to have the ability to focus and shift and adapt to your environment and reduce unnecessary distractions. I don't think you should eliminate distractions, because I think a lot of the things that we would consider distractions are the things that bring us happiness in life, or bring us peace, or some sort of euphoric feeling, or whatever the scenario. So I'm not saying you should have to eliminate these things, but knowing how to curate these things to appease your goals is really, really, really important. And once we've reduced these distractions, we need to be clear about what we want to achieve. You know, one of my favorite quotes, I don't recall who said it, but a dream without an outcome is just a dream. It's not a goal. So if you don't have the necessary steps in place, or at least that first step that's going to get you moving, it's just going to be a dream. It's going to remain a dream. It's easier to focus when you know exactly what you want. So again, if we break this down to our goals into small steps, focused around our own outline of overcoming adversity, and then of course, again, back to aligning with our personal code, then it becomes much easier and much more direct to get to the goals that we have. So again, when we move away from these distractions, you can focus, and then you can get back to focusing on what's important to you. And this will help you stay focused, again, if you are able to approach it one step at a time. You don't have to worry about step 10 when you're only on step 1. You worry about step 1 and maybe a little bit about step 2. It's one of those things where they'll interview head coaches after a game, or before a game, excuse me, and they'll say, you know, you played so and so this week, but you play this other team in 2 weeks and they've won 6 straight. How are you focusing on that game? And most coaches worth their moxie is going to say, we're focused on one game at a time. That's how you have to be. You're focused on one game, one step at a time. And when you get to the next step, then you can plan and strategize to reach the next step. Now, one of the things that I admire from a fictional character perspective, of course, about John Wick is his ability to harness anger. And that's our fourth topic, harnessing anger. Now, you don't have to think about anger in the literal sense. There might be some things that motivate you through anger, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But the John Wick character, he is motivated by anger. And again, it started with his dog, who was a gift from his deceased wife, being killed. So while this may not be the healthiest type of motivation, there are ways we can harness our own anger to motivate ourselves and achieve positive outcomes. Has known someone or said out their mouths that they have haters. I don't know if I have haters. I've never uttered the words when I achieve something like as a middle finger to my haters, because I don't believe I have haters. If I do, make yourselves known, you know. But whether you have haters or you have fictional haters who you see as roadblocks to achieve your goals, being able to harness the anger that you feel from this hate, or this lack of belief in you, or this lack of trust in your abilities, or even the person in the mirror being the person who doesn't believe in you. You know, Oftentimes we are our worst and hardest critics. So it can even be you who are the person who is driving this motivation through anger. But again, you can use this type of anger to motivate yourself and to achieve positive outcomes. But again, get your pad ready, because how do you harness your anger to achieve your goals? First, we need to understand that anger is a natural emotion. It's not good or bad, but how we respond to it can be. One of my favorite mantras to live by is control what you can control. So control the variables that I can control, and then I have to handle how I react to where the pieces fall accordingly. So I can react in a negative way to a situation, or I can take a moment, take a deep breath, maybe read some words of affirmation, go for a walk, whatever it may be, and then I can channel my anger to respond in a positive way. So what are you doing to protect your peace? What are you doing to protect your happiness and your own personal well to overcome anger and again to channel it in a positive way? Think about that. Think about the last time you were faced with a challenge that led to anger, and think about how you handled it. Think to yourself, were you satisfied with how you reacted to it? And whether you were satisfied with it or not, think about what you wish you could improve about how you responded to that. And again, this is a constant journey. It's a marathon. Curating that content and that information to cultivate your positive in the future is incredibly powerful. So instead of letting it control us, we can use it as our own personal fuel for motivation. We can use our anger to help us become better versions of ourselves. And I challenge you to do exactly that. Channel that anger, use it as a weapon, whether it's your haters or the man in the mirror or a combination of both. You can and will channel and react accordingly. Always shifting the responsibility on yourself to react accordingly. Take ownership of it. The final topic that I want to address this week and really align with John Wick is around the power of purpose. I think it's obvious, whether you are already familiar with John Wick or you just have the brief synopsis that I've shared today, that John Wick is a man of purpose. Ultimately, John Wick's motivation is driven by a sense of purpose to avenge the death of his dog and to appease in a way the spirit of his wife. He knows what he wants to achieve, and he is willing to do whatever it takes to get there. Purpose is a powerful motivator. But again, how do we find it? I think it starts with your own self-reflection. Again, take that same pad out. Ask yourself, are you happy? Whether you're happy or not happy, now ask yourself, what makes me happy? What am I good at? What can I do to make myself happier? Notice that the ownership is on you. The parties around you, the people around you are complementary to your happiness, but you have to be the owner of your happiness. You have to be the person who starts and ends a good day. So ask yourself again, what makes me happy? What am I good at? What do I want to achieve in life? Once you have some answers, start taking steps towards achieving those goals. And the beauty of the information age that we live in today is it's likely a short visit in YouTube University or a few Google searches to find some good content, some good information, some good knowledge, some good wisdom to help you build towards this better form of happiness. So knowing what your purpose is, finding the power of your purpose is incredibly, incredibly powerful. And then once you, again, have some answers, and you might have to refine these as time goes on, but start taking steps towards achieving your goals. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, not even an hour from now. Start taking actionable steps today. Start taking actionable steps now. Because when you delay, you're just going to allow yourself to build up excuses, and you're not going to be aligning with the 5 topics that we've outlined today in helping you to become the best version of yourself. Purpose is not always something that comes to you automatically, and it most certainly for most people is something that you have to work toward. So without actions, it's pretty worthless. Now, these 5 topics, these 5 stages that I've covered today, again, I feel like they're incredibly powerful tools to align with you achieving your goals. And as I shift into our conclusion, what I do want you to do and to think about is, again, what do you and John Wick have in common? Well, again, we all have the potential to be driven by our own personal code. We have the ability to overcome adversity. We have the ability to focus on our goals, harness our anger, and find our purpose. So we may not be assassins like John Wick. And again, I hope you are not an assassin. If you are an assassin, I guess be the best assassin you can be. But I'd rather you not be an assassin. But again, like John Wick, we can learn a lot from his approach to motivation. And remember, motivation is something that comes from within. No one else is responsible for your motivation. No one else can be held responsible for your motivation. It cannot be handed to you. It cannot be gifted to you. You have to find it for yourself. And again, you can use outside tools to help cultivate it and make it stronger. But ultimately, you have to start with the sole ownership of your happiness, of your motivation, of your purpose, of your ability to overcome adversity, and of your ability to, again, achieve your goals. And whether you're trying to achieve a personal goal or advance your career or just live a happier life, motivation is the key. So that's it for today's episode. Again, I want to thank everyone for joining me. I want to thank everyone for their time. I want to thank you for subscribing. And of course, if you enjoyed this and if you found it motivational, I'm going to ask you to please leave a comment, please subscribe, please share. And until next week, always remember that today is the best day of your life. So keep learning and growing and make it a great week. And by all means, go see John Wick 4. Thank you again. I wish you all a great day. Thank you.